If you are a manager, you're an executive, maybe you're a leader of some sort in a business, an organization, a corporation, maybe a nonprofit. Where is that balance between people and profit? We're going to talk to an author that I'm very excited about today. Chris Lautenslager wrote The Prosperity Loop. Chris, we're glad you're here.
Thank you, Suzanne. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be talking with your audience.
Well, this is a really important message because as financial things get tighter, the economy gets tighter, there's less money for families to put food on the table, to put gas in their cars. E- Everything is squeezing, and that can be to the detriment of us as human beings, being kind to each other, making the bigger picture, what's good for the world. And I would love for you to share about your book because that's kind of the heart behind what your book is about.
It really is, Suzanne. Um, the real foundation behind my book is that people are as important as profits, and
Hmm.
that by investing in people, you can not only do good for your employees, the community at large, but you can actually increase the value of your organization. Our system, our capitalist system, and I'm a capitalist.
Right.
I got my master's in finance and economics. I believe in capitalism. Historically, it's created more wealth and benefits than any other economic system in the history of the world.
Mm.
However, like everything else, some things can be taken too far.
Mhm. The pendulum swung so far that we've left humanity out of it somehow. You know?
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Back in 1970, Milton Friedman, an economist who was out of the University of Chicago, he won the Nobel Prize in economics. A brilliant man.
Mhm.
Um, he wrote an essay that was published in the New York Times entitled "The Social Responsibility of Business is to Increase Profits." In other
Mm.
words, their responsibility was strictly to increasing shareholder value and nothing else.
Mm.
Well, that's become a mantra for businesses ever since. And when you start taking it to its extreme, which is where we are today, reducing um, employee salaries as much as possible, paying the least amount, reducing benefits,
Mhm.
reducing investment in research, reducing investment in capital expenditures, reducing taxes, whether they're local oriented, which pays for roads and
Sure.
plumbing, schools, or federal when you offshore your headquarters so that you don't pay your fair share here in the country. Now, all of these are legitimate, play by the rule book, available to business managers. But does that actually mean that's the policy that we want to have in this country? And we don't have to.
So, Chris, it doesn't sound like you wanna swing the pendulum completely the other way. You're talking about melding social responsibility with the bottom line. How
That's
does
exactly
how
right.
do you do that? What does that look like?
Well, first of all, it's by recognizing that your team, the people within your organization, are your greatest asset.
Oh, yeah,
They're not your expense. They're not a widget. These are human beings.
yeah.
And each and every one of them has talent, has value, and can make contributions. So when you
Mm.
reframe your perspective to investing in your greatest asset, you'll start to see the results associated with increasing productivity,
Mm.
decreasing the amount of time that people are sick, the
Mm.
amount of time that turnover occurs. Turnover is one of the least
Yeah, retention.
underestimated costs that
Yeah,
people have. It
yeah.
takes so long to find, train, bring someone back online, and if they decide they don't want to stay, it's an incredible cost to your organization. So by reducing that type of expense, you increase productivity, you increase profitability, you increase the overall compatibility within your organization.
I think about the responsibility that leaders have because they're influencing the people that are under them, let's just make it simple, and then they're going home to their families, and if they're working in a miserable, bottom line environment where they don't feel appreciated or wanted, there are different ways that they're going to take it out on their family. So this could be a generational learning how to, you know, treat people and manage in a healthy environment that's got a nice balance to it. This is such an important message, Chris.
Thank you, and you're absolutely right. One of the benefits in working with CEOs that I've been able to share with them is that by changing their perspective of working with people instead of widgets, by
Mhm.
caring for people as members of their community, as their neighbors, um, they actually start to benefit from value increasing in their own lives. They start to share that feeling of warmth and care
Yeah.
with others and themselves. So it's a
Mhm.
win-win-win
Mhm.
that is the really pleasant surprise for many managers of companies.
Mhm. Do you think a lot of people are managing out of fear? Um, you know
I think a lot of people are managing out of peer pressure.
Mm,
You know, they're the boss.
right.
By the way, nobody likes working for the boss.
Right, right. You want a leader. Yeah,
You want a
yeah,
leader, and to
yeah,
me, a leader is someone who can take you to fulfilling your goals,
yeah.
not just the company goals, but your personal goals. That's
Mm,
part of the investment in the people in your organization is actually knowing who they are.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
being able to fulfill those goals and lead
Mm,
people is what differentiates you from being the boss. Oh,
mm,
and by the way, Susan, do you know less and less people want to be the boss? It's a thankless role.
yeah,
It's much better to be a leader or a partner.
absolutely. I mean, you're gonna have everybody sending you resumes. They're all gonna wanna work for you. You seem like the perfect leader that's mentoring and caring and, you know, uh,
We
moving
all
moving the
have that
business along. Yeah,
capacity. We all
yeah.
have that capacity. People that are listening to this, and if this resonates with you, um, again, there's a lot of peer pressure. What about the family? Is this going to cost me money? Can I
Mhm,
afford it? Is this
mhm,
going to jeopardize my business? You
mhm.
don't have to make an all or nothing commitment.
Yeah.
You can start to build this new environment, this culture of trust, step by step by step.
You're playing the long game, and from what I hear, it sounds like a lot of, leaders are out of for whatever reason, playing the short game, short-sighted, and not
Well,
looking at
that's one of the reasons why I focus on small and mid-sized private
Ah,
companies,
mhm,
okay, because often they're family owned.
yeah,
Um, there's already a level of knowledge of people within the organization. It just
mm,
hasn't been taken far enough.
mhm.
It's easy for managers to make adjustments. It's easy for culture to be shifted in a small,
Yes,
privately
yes,
owned company.
yeah,
In a public company, there are legally fiduciary responsibilities to shareholders that will challenge any type
yeah.
of significant adjustment that might impact earnings.
So
Now,
you're looking at how nimble an organization is, being small to medium. It's not like a gigantic ship Freightliner that you have to turn. It's a little sailboat, you know?
it is. There
Yeah,
can be turned.
yeah,
That can be
yeah,
turned, and the maneuverability of that allows people to be able to, again, make adjustments and
mm,
see how that feels. I
yeah.
mean, part of the 6 steps of the principles
I
that
was
I
just
lay
gonna
out
get to that. Tell me
earlier
about the 6 steps.
is assessment and adjustments. That's the final step. So, I suggest 6 steps associated with creating this prosperity loop, this continual reinforcement of prosperity for all participants within the organization. And it starts with a common vision, a
Mm,
purpose. Why are we here? And if it's just to collect a check, they're not going to be there very long.
right.
Particularly young people today. Young people feel a sense of purpose. They feel a
Yeah.
sense of change that they want to make, that they want to have contributions through their work. And it might not be raising money for saving X, Y, or Z. Um, I have a friend. He is a manufacturer of nuts and bolts.
Okay.
Literally, it's as
Literally.
basic as you can get. And
Yeah.
he's like, "How can I have purpose? I make nuts and bolts." Well, what is purpose to the people within his organization?
Mm.
Is it creating a playground for all of the kids in a certain
Mm.
neighborhood? Many of these smaller organizations, the people that are participants, they work in the neighborhood. I'm a firm believer of making commitments to your local community. This is something you can be proud of. This is something that your children can be proud of.
Yeah.
You know, we all need reinforcement when we make commitments. And so bringing someone who has been supported, maybe you make a commitment to an employee, a colleague's family who's struggling with Alzheimer's. Having that person come to the work and provide witness is one of the most touching,
Mm.
impactful,
Yeah.
enthusiasm building steps you could take. So having purpose is one,
Mhm.
having cooperation and collaboration, and I talk about the steps that you can use to create a culture of collaboration, creating values. Now I know that the concept of values is kind of old fashioned, but being able to have trust, honesty, and integrity within a workplace is really important. And I
Absolutely.
stress about how to be able to create an environment in which values are important.
Hmm.
Then we talk about communication, having the ability to be able to listen to everyone. We have a historic top down hierarchy management style. The
Mhm.
boss is always right.
Right,
He
right.
what the terms are, and everybody executes the order.
Yes.
Well, it's not always the case.
Mhm.
Often, the person that knows best about the machinery is the machinist.
Mm, mhm.
So, being able to create
Absolutely.
that type of communication is important. And then
Yeah.
shared rewards. And this is where people get a little nervous. They're like, well, you know, my budget's already tight. Do I have to increase my salary? And what happens if there's a downturn? And people aren't always interested in making the most money.
Mm.
In fact, when I was on Wall Street and my highest pursuit was making as much money as I can, I'll be quite honest in saying it was the most hollow time of my life.
Wow.
It wasn't
Wow.
until I accepted and realized that there's no such thing as a self made millionaire.
Mm.
Nobody does it on their own.
Wow. Yes.
By sharing and by helping others to become rich also, that you become not only rich financially,
Wow.
but rich personally.
Sure. Wow.
And then last, we talk about assessments and adjustments, because nobody gets it right the first time. We have to measure, we have to have someone responsible for saying, are we making progress here?
Right.
And then how do we reinforce the things that are good, uh, reevaluate the things that aren't working as well as we had hoped?
Hmm. Chris, unfortunately, we've got to start to wrap up, but I would love for you to kind of put in a nutshell, what is it that you want someone to feel or do after they've read your book?
I want them to love their fellow as much as they love their work. They're interchangeable.
Yeah.
They really are.
Wow. Chris, we are so glad that you're here. The Prosperity Loop is available. You want to share where you can get that?
You can go to www.get-looped.com. That's GET-LOOPED.com. And the book will be available on September 13th through Amazon.
Wonderful. And we are thankful for Redwood Digital Publishing, your publisher, and also Saint Somewhere Marketing, who made this connection possible as well. So we thank you so much. The Prosperity Loop, Chris, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk
Thank you,
again.
Suzanne.